What I think the difficulty for us, yet again, the West African epidemic taught us that when we actually see larger outbreaks of Ebola, that there is a common international interest that comes with that, and obviously with that comes increased funding for basic research and translational research into these problems. Where we get into an issue is kind of the periods in between outbreaks. And that's been the difficulty for us is still trying to maintain to grant reviewers or to funding agencies that this is an ongoing issue, an ongoing problem. And I think that's been somewhat complicated, somewhat unfairly by the availability of the vaccine. The vaccine is great. It is obviously a frontline therapeutic that we can use to try and address outbreaks. The problem is we're not going to eradicate this disease. So we are going to continue to see spillover events until we're at a point where we can actually predict them. So, the vaccine is great to have, but we're going to face, more and more people that get infected as spillovers continue to occur. And for us now, where we're at, we understand that this virus is able to get into the reproductive tract. Definitively in males, there's been probably a much stronger focus on male reproductive tract health with Ebola, again, I think somewhat unfairly. But I think we understand that at the very least, the virus is able to get into those tissues and is able to be transmitted sexually. And we've seen that sexual transmission has occurred even up to 500 days post symptom onset. So all of these things, I think, has to go into our calculus of understanding that even when we have an outbreak contained, this is an ongoing issue. And we need to think about the fact that this isn't just trying to get cases down to zero and get infections down to zero, but we also have that kind of, that lasting period afterwards where we still have to maintain vigilance. And how do we do that at the community level? So we're getting better in terms of our understanding of the dynamics of where the virus goes in the reproductive tract. I've had some great students in the lab that have been able to give us some good insights on that. We're actually in the middle of writing up a publication, kind of validating what things we've seen so far. But I think we're still at an infancy in really understanding that the long-term behavioral aspects and long-term health complications in survivors. And that's where, myself and Dr. Kapali are collaborating and trying to work with the survivor networks in West Africa and hopefully in the DRC as well to, again, better understand where we can help position long-term, health infrastructure and availability for those folks that ultimately survive disease, but face some long-term complications.
Dr. Capoli, Dr. Kintershuk mentioned that there is collaboration between you and his laboratory. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, not much. I mean, I think that Dr. Kindershek did a great job explaining some of the work that we're doing. I do think, again, I think with any of these new emerging viruses, it's really important to understand the long-term consequences of them, and that is always going to take time. And so, even though we've got some really good information about how Ebola in particular affects the male reproductive tract, we're really trying to understand how this affects women and long-term reproductive outcomes in women. And so hopefully we'll continue to be able to study this and get some good data from both West Africa and the DRC outbreaks.
Well, and I think we ultimately want to stop people from being ostracized that have survived disease, right? So that is still one of the limitations that we face. When I go back to Sierra Leone, there are still public messaging campaigns in terms of trying to reduce the stigma that's attached with survival or with people that were orphaned because of Ebola. And I think that a lot of that has to really start at engaging with the local communities. Again, trying to get perspectives on how to properly go and do surveys of Ebola survivors in a culturally sensitive fashion. So I think we're really trying to push the gamut of working with with partners in the region collaboratively, so that ultimately what we can do is produce a much stronger network in country that they can rely on when they face other infectious disease outbreaks beyond Ebola.